It's time for your weekend fix of your favorite weekday shows on VSiN. From Follow the Money to My Guys in the Desert and everything in between. It's the best of VSiN, and it's on right now. So yesterday, Chris Andrews and the guys here at South Point put the Big Four versus the field to win the College National Championship, be crowned the king of March Madness. Now, here are the four teams listed, okay? Duke, Gonzaga, Michigan, and Kansas. All four teams listed, even money. The field, every other team, over 300 teams you got, minus 120. So we turn them, you never know. But here comes the mayor of downtown Las Vegas, Mr. Derek Stevens, who just announced Cirque, the birth of Cirque, at an unveiling downtown the other night. And I look over, and I realize that it's not the Review Journal he's got in his hand. I mean, look at this stack of cash my man came in with. Derek, welcome, my friend. I brought bookmakers. I've got security. What are we going to do with all this money, lad?
Well, I'm a listener to VSiN, and I love the fact that Chris and everybody here came up with this derivative bet. You know, you've got four teams potentially from the four regions coming up in March, and then you know, Chris is talking with Mike here about it, and thinking about, well, he put Michigan in there, and I thought, oh, a little derivative. He goes, maybe we could suck him in. Well, he sure did. He made a beeline down here to the South Point today. I love that. I love these four teams.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Well, here's the thing. You know, last year we had a lot of fun with that Michigan bet, and I figured we made it all the way through, but we couldn't fade that Monday. So we're going to make this bet on these four teams. We're just going to win this thing on Saturday.
Mr. Vaccaro, I brought you over. You brought your duffel bag, and you welcome Derek with open arms as the bookmaker here.
You know, anybody that bets that kind of money, it surely gets my respect. And first of all, coming from him, he really gets my respect. But I must tell you, you can't take Duke out of there now because they lost last night.
I know. I understand. I saw them at that Syracuse game. Yeah. Plus, they got a little injury, too. That's a bigger deal.
You're right, my friend.
Right.
You know, it's always a pleasure to deal with you. First of all, for the people out there, I've been doing this a long, long time. Some people bet this type of money are a real pain in the ass. Everything has to go their way. Everything must be done correctly, or they don't even do it. But this young man here, who's a new bright star of Las Vegas, make no mistake about it. And it's a pleasure to deal with you, my friend. And that's on the square.
You know, I accidentally ran into Michael Gahn. I had no knowledge of Derek coming down. Mm-hmm. And so Michael was the other night at the ceremony, the unveiling of Cirque. Mm-hmm. And he says, you know, I like this young man, Derek Stevens. I like him. Done some business with him at the sports book. He's a good man, okay? So obviously the boss has approved that bet, my friend, and so you're going to be in.
I appreciate it. So Jimmy, what do we got? We've got 100,000 on your four-team derivative here, and the number is what? Plus 105? What?
You want plus 105?
Plus 105.
No. It's even money. Do you want plus 105?
Oh, I would.
Do you want plus 105?
I would, yes.
You got it.
There you go.
Whoa, there we go. Oh, negotiating a line live.
All right.
We were looking.
Whoa.
You can't get this anywhere else. I know about that.
If I may borrow a phrase, we are booking live.
Good one, Vinny, my man.
You know what I think you'll do with that extra 5 cents? I think you'll give it to the kids if you win the bet.
I think you're right about that. That's a fair deal.
All right,
nice
Mike.
job. Nice job.
So last night, we were at two separate functions. Jimmy and Chris are here. I'm at a separate function, and my phone, I get this text. It's Mike Palm. And Mike is saying, boy, you know, that bet intrigued Derek. And is there any way that he could come down and make the bet? I said, well, yeah, it's up. Go, you know. So he said, well, he wants to bet 100,000. So I said, all right, hold on. So I get a hold of Chris, and Chris is at the function. We're going back and forth. Jimmy's there. And it was like, yeah, let's go. Why not? Let's have some fun. So
well, the difference between, and I say this, obviously Chris is the boss, but you get answers around here with these type of bets immediately. That's the strength of and that comes from Michael Gaunt. I mean, I've worked for Michael, 40 some years ago, and it's always been the same thing. And there's a lot of you to do this. The other night down with the unveiling, you just ran a great ship. I mean, everything went bang, bang, bang until the curtain came down. Then we back up a little bit. But I say that with all sincerity, young man. Chris is allowed to run the book. Naturally, he calls me a lot of things, but the decision, it took 5 seconds. We're ready to go.
That's awesome. Now, to win the national championship, and Derek has Duke, should be number 1 in the East, assuming they take care of business in the ACC. Gonzaga, strong to be number 1 in the West. His Wolverines, strong to be number 1 coming out of the Big Ten. We'll see about Kansas. The Jayhawks are going to have to battle on. They lost one of their big guys if they can wind up with a number 1 seed. And of course, and that's what the deal is, to get them in different regions. That's what you want with these 4 teams.
That'd be perfect. Like I said, the ultimate scenario would be to go to Final Four weekend and have the bet take care of itself on a Saturday. That'd be terrific.
Don't you want it to take care of itself the previous Sunday?
Well, yeah. But let's not get crazy, Mike.
And you're still obviously invited on Selection Sunday as well, guys.
Well, that was one of the caveats. You still have to bet 11,000 a game.
Oh, God.
with a gun to your head.
So, my man. Oh, I hope you were with us the last couple of years. Derek has fired away. And, the first year it was damn near impossible. He was sitting there all by himself. So last year he brought in a board of experts. What did you have, about 3 fellows with you? And you did much better last year on it.
Much better was a good way to put it last year. Yeah, we did all right. We came out okay.
Well done.
All right.
The first year, young man, you got no chance.
Yeah.
0 chance. Just too hard.
It was tough. It was tough with it. Make a bet on all 32 games within 10 seconds of a posting.
That was tough.
But credit you for stepping up as you are now, right, Jimmy?
Oh, absolutely.
Chris feels the same way. I mean, he's off property right now. We should get a hold of Chrissy too.
I have guys that wouldn't bet that Tuesday after they played on Saturday.
Oh, that's great. Derek, how'd everything go with the announcement? What's been the reaction to Cirque going up downtown, very close to the D?
Well, I think everybody's pretty excited about seeing a new property and everything like that. So it's good to see all these great new things in Las Vegas. And obviously all of you got to see sports is a big component of what's going to be an attraction inside Circus. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, the Circuit Theater, that will be the place to be to watch the big games and just the other games every week. That's going to be spectacular, Derek. That facility that you're putting up now. Obviously, the old building is torn down. So when do they really get at it with the construction crews, or are they right in the heart of it right now?
Yeah, should get right at it within the next couple of months here and be ready to go by 2020. That's what we're saying.
Mike? December of 2020 is the
That's the over. That's the over under.
The playoffs, the NFL playoffs.
I might take my first
That'll
over.
be.
That's a pretty good source. That's the GM right there. We might have to adjust that price.
Derek, before we let you go, tonight the Golden Knights are up in Winnipeg. And Mike and I we don't like to bet against home. We're leaning a little bit, though, toward the Jets because of that was the Western Conference final last year. And the Golden Knights closed them out up there. What's your feeling about the Golden Knights tonight in Winnipeg?
Well, I think this is a pretty tough road trip here. I mean, I think what you saw the other night, we were out with a number of Golden Knight execs last night for dinner and explained what happened with the Chicago game. Golden Knights go down a quick 2-0. They went all the way up to plus 240 at a moment there, and then came back and won. That was a real critical game on this trip. But now they've got some tough games here. So I understand where you'd have some concern with the Golden Knights at Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly.
Brent, I got to tell you another story about Saturday night, though. So they go down 2-0 in Chicago. And, everybody's there at the bar watching. We got the Knights and we got the Rams and Cowboys game on. And Derek says, what do you think this end game is now on Golden Knights? This should be a pretty good end game. They're down 2-0. I said, well, you got to be at least $2, right? So he has one of his guys run up to William Hill, and he goes and he makes a $100 bet at plus 240 for about a dozen guys that are standing there at the bar and gives them out all the Gives out all the tickets to
Very
him.
nice.
He said we wanted to change the mojo for the Knights. We wanted.
And he did.
He
They came and they pulled it out. So it'll be fun. Start about 5 o'clock. And Derek, good luck with this bet that you're about to book here at the South Point, my friend.
All right, thanks, guys. Love walking in and seeing all these smart guys here. Jimmy, we got some work to do.
One thing, I saw the rendering of the new casino, and Mike's office is right next to the sports book. That's the only.
I thought it was above the pool.
Derek Stevens, the owner of the day and the Cirque, rising in downtown Las Vegas, walking away with $100,000 to bet on Chris Andrews' prop, the Big Four, Duke, Gonzaga, Michigan, Kansas, to win March Madness.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
2004, I almost won the Super Contest Classic, my first year in it.
Okay.
And I missed it by a field goal. I think I had the Jets, and they missed their field goal in overtime, and the Rams got theirs. And so I went from winning the thing with tiebreakers to finishing tied for fourth. That was a $220,000 swing on a missed field goal. That's 15 years ago.
By the way, nobody's seen that kicker since.
So
George sees him every day in his dreams.
So I'm a little bit philosophical when there's that much money on the line, at least not money I've put out, but money I could have won.
You have to help me out here. How is there nobody, they don't have anybody on the roster who can make a 25-yard field goal? And there's, Janikowski's had injury issues before. He left the game earlier in the year. I mean, what's going on here that he doesn't, I can't believe, what if they got the onside kick?
I don't even understand what that was. I don't even know what that was. I can't imagine that that's what they wanted. I can't imagine that they practiced their onside kick and that kid just, I don't even know what the hell that was. Like, seriously, why don't you just give them the ball back if you're going to do that?
I love the regular season. I know people are like, what's the point? I'm just going to tune in for the playoffs. But this is the point, to see teams like the Nuggets that are powering along, that feel like they have something they need to prove and taking that next step. But no, they may be 26-12, and they may be a game ahead of the Warriors and a game and a half ahead of the Thunder. But come playoff time, there's going to be that sort of new learning curve for them, and they're probably going to get hit in the mouth. But still a great story to this point.
So I'm riding the Duke train. They are better, and I rate them, I think, 4 points better than Gonzaga on a neutral court, despite the loss to Gonzaga. The reason Gonzaga has a shot, again, if they meet in the tournament, and maybe Tennessee's close, is they have the size to at least defend these NBA guys without just having to foul every time or give up layups and dunks. They can actually force Duke to hit threes, where I think they rank 240th in three-point percentage. They only shoot 32% from three. And so if they're cold, which they were against Gonzaga, that's going to be a chance to beat them, right? It's in one game, the variance is super high.
Welcome back to the best of VSiN. Here are more of our favorite moments from the week.
We have seen these weather reports, left, right, sideways, whatever you want to call it, with this AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Chiefs. And the one that I have seen has been 0% chance, maybe 2% chance of precipitation, really low winds from maybe 2 to 5 miles an hour, mainly sunny, maybe a little bit of clouds. But to me, I think there's been a little bit of an overreaction here to this total because it's come dropping, and I think it's because of the freezing cold. And you and I talk about this all the time with the weather. That might be a slight overreaction. Like if it's going to be a dry day and just cold, I don't see what slows these two offenses down.
I don't either, JVT. Travis Kelce caught the ball in cold weather as well as anybody, and you can't get any colder than it was in New England last week. And the Patriots, James White, all those players demonstrated that they can catch a cold ball, unlike the Colts who couldn't. So I agree with you. I think this will be a game where I think both offenses will be operating at full strength, and if the Patriots can block Chris Jones and they handle the edges like they did the last game, I'm sure they're going to score points just like I know the Chiefs will score points as well. So I think this weather reaction is probably a little bit of an overreaction.
Michael, how big of a weapon is Sony Michel going to be in this game? Because the Patriots, I think, have really done a good job developing more of a power running attack. So is Sony Michel going to get a lot of carries here? And am I maybe seeing something that's, I guess, blowing it out of proportion by saying that Tom Brady is such a good cold weather quarterback that the Pats might have an edge? You just talked about that a little bit, but I've always thought Brady's a really good bad weather quarterback, and we don't know about Patrick Mahomes yet. So can you talk about Sony Michel and Brady in bad weather?
You know, when Michel's on the field, they run about 76% of their plays are running plays, and then when you combine them with Devlin, they are over 70% run. And the two of them together, I think they've been on the field 200 plays so far this year, and 83% of them, it's almost been all run. So, and what you see with them is their ability to scheme the run. And I think what the Chiefs have to do is make a decision. Do they want to play nickel to a two-back set, or do they want to play their base? If they play their base, then you'll see Brady throw the ball much more, and I think he'll be more effective doing it. Michel has given them a chance to control the pace of the game, Matt, and that's been the key. Look, the last time they played, they had the ball 36 minutes. They had 38 rushing attempts. They needed every single one of them because even though the Chiefs only had the ball for 53 plays, they almost had 500 yards of offense. And when you watch the tape again, like I've done this week, Mahomes misses Kareem Hunt for a touchdown, he misses Tyreek Hill for a touchdown, and he misses Kelsey for a huge play. So they're going to need to control the football somehow, some way.
So when you look at this, Michael, because you talk about history for the Patriots and in the postseason and Tom Brady being a great cold weather quarterback, and he's been here before. So what wins out for you when you're looking at this matchup? Is it that in the postseason history, or is it this season when the Patriots have been an awful road team and they have atrocious losses on the road, including the Lions, the Jags, the Titans, where they have been physically manhandled? Like, when you look at this, what wins out? Is it this season in that history, or is it the fact that the Patriots have been here before and done it in high leverage spots?
I think this is the hard one, JVT, because as Matt just talked about, how do they control the football? It's easier to do when you play home, where you can mess with the snap count and you can get some false starts. But when you play in Moscow Square with all that red around you and it's loud as hell, you're trying to deal with it. You're going to get more false starts and get behind and down a distance, and then all of a sudden that helps their defense, which we know does play much better at home. So I think this is one of those situations where they're going to have to play their best football. They went into Chicago. They did on the road. That's one of the road wins that was really good against a good defense, and they did it the old-fashioned way. They kind of ran the ball with a lot of play action and won in three phases. They won with their defense, and they blocked a punt, and they returned a kick for a touchdown. So I think this is going to have to be a three-phase win if they can win it, because they're going to get behind in the down and distance because you're going to have false starts. Trent Brown has had a tendency of having some penalties this year. Last week he played perfectly. I think it's going to be a challenge for him. I think the home crowd in Kansas City is so loud that it will be a problem for the Patriots.
Mike, the Patriots have been terrible on the road this year, really. They were 3-5, and they scored exactly 10 points in 3 of those games against non-playoff teams. Does that matter this week, or is that insignificant to you?
Well, I think a couple of those games, the Tennessee game, look, the Tennessee, the Detroit, and the Jacksonville games, I think they'll be on. I think the Miami game has to concern you a little bit because that was just fresh. I mean, look, if they just tackle Drake, they're going to be – this game is in New England. Mm-hmm. And perhaps they're going to the Super Bowl. So one play, and then the next week they can't make a play against Pittsburgh on the road, and Pittsburgh's defense is pretty good. So I think they have some concerns about what they do offensively, but they also have concerns defensively. I mean, Kansas City only ran 53 plays the last time they played and almost had 500 yards. Right. And I'm telling you this, Mahomes didn't play good in the game. I mean, we can watch the game again, and Mahomes missed numerous throws in the game, and one of which was they had a punt. And so Brady turned the ball over. I just think, to me, if Kansas City doesn't make the blunders, I think Kansas City can do too much offensively and enough defensively to win the game.
Interesting. All right, let's talk about the KC defense quickly, because that looked like a different defense last week, Michael. They were flying all over the field. I think part of it had to do with Andrew Luck was just rotten last week. He was not ready for that cold weather, did not look good last week, and for some reason the Colts couldn't run the ball with Marlon Mack. Is the KC defense as good as it looked last week, and do you think Eric Berry will be a factor, or is he going to be on the field this week?
I don't know if he'll be on the field. I don't think he'll be a factor if he does play, but I will say this. I'm not buying the Kansas City defense. I thought it was more Indianapolis' inability to deal with the cold. It looked like Indy never went outside all year.
Right.
It looked like Indy was a dome team, and Andrew Luck, as a dome quarterback, did not throw the ball, and Ebron looked like he had no interest. He looked like a kid from North Carolina. who never played below 40 degrees in his life. He got drafted by the Lions. He's played for the Colts. He's played in 2 domes his whole life. They just weren't used to it. And look, and so the same for the Chargers. You just can't go out and stand in 20-degree weather and say, I got it after 10 minutes. It takes some time and effort. That's why the Patriots practice outdoors all the time. That's why the Chiefs are outside all the time, because you got to play in it, you got to practice in it. And I don't think the Colts did, so I'm not going to let the Colts' bad performance make me think that Kansas City's a better defense.
It's Michael Lombardi, host of Betting Across America, live from the Ocean Resort Casino on the weekends with myself here on VSiN. Nice enough to join us during the week. All right, so let's go to the NFC Championship game, Michael. Rams and Saints. So the first time these two teams met up in the regular season, New Orleans was a 2-point underdog on their home field. Now they're a 3.5 or 3-point favorite. What's changed for these two teams? Because you can make the argument that they're heading in opposite directions, and the Rams are the ones that are heading in the positive direction.
Well, I think what's changed is how much has Jared Goff changed. I mean, Jared Goff didn't get hit the last game. He threw one interception that was costly, but he played perfectly, and he had guys wide open. And I think over the course of the last month of the season, going into last week, people were concerned about Goff. And I think the Rams were concerned about Goff. They really didn't let him participate in that game. He didn't have to. So I think that's going to be the concern. The run defense of the Saints, people think it will stop the Rams from running the football. But I think this game's going to come down to really how much pressure the opponents can put on one another. If they make Goff play fast, I like the Saints. And if the Rams put pressure on Breeze and are able to at least double Michael Thomas, then I like the Rams. But the Rams have been so inconsistent in what they do defensively. Last time they played, Aaron Donald really didn't make an impact. We never saw Sue in the game. Last week, both players were dominant. I don't know if that'll be the case. Fowler played good the last time they played him. He was actually on the Rams then, but I don't know if they can cover in the back end. I don't care that Talib's back. Talib can't cover Michael Thomas, just like Marcus Peters can't cover him.
Marcus Peters will say he can cover him. Both those guys will talk
Yeah, that's
smack.
right.
Yeah, I think the last time the Rams-Saints played at the Superdome, November 4th, Breeze was not sacked in that game. And the Eagles didn't find a way to get to him last week. Breeze was the least sacked quarterback in the NFL, 17 sacks, I think, in 15 games. He sat out the last game. Michael, what have you seen in Breeze that makes you think John Murray might be right when he says Breeze has an arm injury? Is there anything to that? I've not really seen the Saints hit for a lot of explosive plays, and Breeze is not throwing the deep vertical ball like he was early in the season. Do you see that, or is there nothing to it?
Oh, there's definitely something to it. I mean, he's got a touchdown the first play of the game, and he underthrew it by 2 yards.
Right.
I mean, he also had another one that he underthrew by a yard. I mean, he's not getting the ball down the field. Now, he's doing fine from 20 yards in, but when he has to throw it over 20 up in the air, his accuracy is down. He's like 1 for 9 in that area. And you can see it. He just can't drive the ball down the field. But that doesn't mean he can't throw it effectively. He's still a good football player, and he's still making throws. I mean, the third down throw he made to Michael Thomas, he steps up in the pocket. His foot quickness is still dynamic where he can avoid the rush. He's going to be a problem. The deep ball is what he's been underthrowing, and that's what Taysom Hill came in and threw a wonderful throw to Kamara. I think the challenge in this game is Wade Phillips going to play as much man-to-man as he did the last time? Because Kamara wore him out, and I think that'll happen again if he does.
Michael, who has more rushing yards, C.J. Anderson or Todd Gurley?
I would say Gurley. I'm going to think Gurley. I think that they're going to stop the run. I think C.J. Anderson has got a chance to do something, but I think he could stop the run. I think this is one of those games where they're going to run the ball a little bit, but I'm not sure they're going to live running the football. I think they're going to have to make plays in the passing game against the Saints, and I think the Saints are going to bring the heat to them. I think the Saints are really going to put pressure on them because you've got to make Goff play fast. You can't let Goff sit back there and check the runners at first and third to throw the football to the plate. I mean, you got to speed his game up, and if you speed him up, he's not the same player.
All right, Michael, last question for me. These are regular rematches from the regular season. Obviously, the first time the Rams played the Saints, it was 45-35 New Orleans. First time the Chiefs played the Patriots, New England won that game 43-40. The totals here are 56-57, right in that range. How are these games going to be different? And if one of these games turns into a shootout that flies over the total, which one's more likely to be the shootout, do you think?
I think the one played in the perfect conditions. I think that's going to be the shootout. You know, the ball's going to be warm. It's going to be perfect. I think it's going to be able to where you can do whatever you want to do offensively, and I think both offensive coaches can do that, and I think both of them will be effective. I think both games, look, the crowd's going to be in both games, and it's going to be hard. for the opponents to really be consistent and not get into those long down and distance. And that's if they don't move the ball, it's because they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, which they do. Look, the Eagles called a timeout to start the second half, and which is why they deferred. They deferred because the crowd noise is never loud in the second half, and yet it was so loud in the Dome, they had to call a timeout and burn one of their timeouts, which really ended up costing them at the end.
First year of nationwide sports betting, to me, went pretty well. I mean, there was the to be expected gaffes and mistakes by operators, but in the long run, I think everything's headed towards positivity, and I see great things to come on the horizon in Nevada and the United States in general.
One of the biggest changes that we've seen this last year since the expansion of sports betting is that there's been a lot more novice bettors coming up to the window. People saying, hey, I've always been interested in this, but I've never done it before. Can you explain to me how this works? Which is a great opportunity for sportsbook, for people that work in the sportsbook, to really explain how fun sports betting is. I would say, for me, that's been the biggest change that we've seen. There's a lot of people coming up that really didn't understand sports betting, but that kind of got bit by the bug.
I expect big things in 2019, especially for Las Vegas. As it continues to have a growth and increase, it can only spread and help our handle, and without a doubt, it's a great thing. So I'm expecting 2019 to be a huge year for sports gambling as a whole throughout the United States, and especially here at the Rampart and South Point.
It is nothing but an absolute hit everywhere, and everybody that I speak to who is one of these books now, it's just been overwhelming. It did not hurt Nevada like a lot of people thought it would. It didn't hurt anybody because what it did, it just created new customers. And as we speak, I think there's 8 other states now who are involved in this, in single game sports wagering. I would venture to say 3 to 5 years, we'll be close to 20 states. We're finding out that it is what we told them it was years ago. There's really nothing wrong with betting on your favorite team, with a favorite team with a monetary value in it. So what we're finding out is just like everything else. If you let it out there, and it'll smooth out. Growing pains, absolutely. But it came at the right time. Finally, after all these years. So it'll be here. It'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. Bet on that.
Welcome back to the best of VSiN. Here are more of our favorite moments from the week.
John Murray, director, Westgate Superbook USA, joins the program now. John, good morning. Paul's going to hate me for doing this, but I have to. I am going to pay you the ultimate compliment right now. You deserve it. And it's this. So I bet the Colts last week very early. It was either Sunday night +6 and money line against the Chiefs. Sunday night, Monday morning. I knew I was in trouble on Tuesday or Wednesday when you said you liked the Chiefs.
Really?
Yep.
Why? What makes you say that, Mitch?
Because you can't pick a loser right now.
You're on fire.
You are picking only winners, my friend, and I'm not joking.
You let people know about it.
I don't know about all that. I mean, I've maybe won like 3 or 4 NFL bets in a row. I wouldn't. If I lost 3 or 4 NFL bets in a row, I wouldn't think much of that either.
Well,
Sample size.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Now's not the time to be humble. Have you given out a loser on this show? I don't know if you have. And you were blistering hot giving out picks with Brent too.
Sometimes we gave out picks with Brent, the good picks with Brent. I do like Kansas City again this week, though, guys. I like it better than I did last week.
Whoa!
I think Kansas City. I think this line's way too short. I think the money line is way too cheap. I just don't think New England's that good. I think New England got to where they are because they played such an easy schedule, and then they got the perfect setup this past weekend where they got the Chargers in that early time slot, and they kind of jumped all over them. Chargers didn't know what to do. I still don't think the Patriots are that good, and I think Kansas City is going to win this game by double digits.
That's strong.
Wow.
I don't trust the Patriots on the road, and you also said the same thing about Bama Clemson, that the line was too high. and you love it.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely there, Paul. New England's been a very different team away from home versus, on the road versus at home. So I think that everything really sets up well for the Chiefs on Sunday afternoon, and we really are going to want the Chiefs huge at the book. We do awesome on the Chiefs in the AFC Future Book and the Super Bowl Future Book, actually. So we'll be rooting hard for Kansas City, and I think they're going to come through for us.
Okay, then tell us, then, in your opinion, what should this number be?
I think it should be at least 4.5 on Kansas City. I don't think New England's that good. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed with what they're doing. They thoroughly outcoached the Chargers on Sunday.
No doubt.
But if all you got to do is take those short throws away from Brady, I guess that's easier said than done. But Brady can't throw the ball downfield anymore. There's clearly something wrong with his arm. Gronkowski is like an old man out there. They don't have any deep threat at wide receiver, and I don't think their defense is that good either. And Kansas City really should be able to move the ball at will offensively.
Right. Weather concern you, though?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, I see the weather reports, but I don't think it. The only thing that worries me, and I said it yesterday when I was on with JVT and Panayotovich, if Kansas City falls behind early, could Andy Reid go into a shell and get nervous and choke? Yes, he could.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only thing that concerns me. I think if Kansas City can get out to a lead early, the way they did against Indianapolis, I think they'll run away with it.
How about the NFC game?
I don't really have an opinion on the NFC game. I mean, I've been talking to a few people. Seems like a lot of people like the Rams in that game. I kind of understand that because the way I think there's something wrong with Brady, I also think there's something wrong with Drew Brees' throwing arm. But at the same time, I feel like New Orleans played about as poorly offensively as they could ever play.
Yep.
On Sunday, and they got away with it. New Orleans' defense is very underrated.
Yep.
They have a good defense. After they fell behind 14-0 on Sunday, but then their defense really dug their feet in and played great the rest of the way. I would lean a little bit to New Orleans in that game, but I'm going to pass on the NFC game. The only thing I'm playing this week is Kansas City.
Fair enough. Follow the money. Sirius XM 204. Fubo TV. John Murray, director, Westgate Superbook, our guest right now. So if the Rams, and they were awesome on the running the ball against the Cowboys. We all know that. Anderson and Gurley went nuts. Saints have been the best basically in football, stopping the run all year long. If the Rams cannot run, do you like Goff? Do you trust him with McVay?
I don't know what to make of Goff because I know everybody is quick to say he's a system quarterback. I think that's true to a certain extent, but he made some really, really good throws on Saturday, and then he missed some really easy throws. So I don't know what to think of that guy. I mean, I definitely think he's the worst of the 4 quarterbacks going this weekend, but you're talking about 3 elite guys other than him. Do I trust him? No, I don't really trust him. But again, I think Drew Brees is hurt too. So the way it sets up right now, I think it's really the Chiefs' Super Bowl to lose.
Ooh, wow. All right. How excited are you for these props once the games are over Sunday for the Super Bowl with these or how maybe you're dreading it like Jeff?
Yeah, I was going to say excited. I'm not sure if we have the same definition of excited. No, I'm not excited about the Super Bowl props, and I know the numbers this year are going to be so high after what happened last year, where we just the props were just a disaster for us with everybody going over. Everybody scored a touchdown. Everybody we listed scored a touchdown. Even Nick Foles, the quarterback, scored a touchdown.
Yep.
If we get another result like that, it's going to be pretty ugly. So hopefully, I want it to be a Super Bowl like the Denver-Carolina Super Bowl, where just nothing happens.
No.
What I'm rooting for, Mitch.
John, don't be a company man here. We want 54-51 like we had Chiefs-Rams the first time they played. Yes, we do. Come on. Be a man of the people.
I'm not a man of the people. No, 54-51, that'd be a disaster for us. If it's Kansas City against the Rams and the total, we make the total for that 63. So you can imagine how high the prop numbers would be. And if you get another result like the Monday night game that everybody remembers, we would get killed on props.
Cut it out. You win every month. It's a casino. People got to win sometime. You guys haven't had a losing month since I was in high school.
Jimmy Vaccaro said at CES, the books haven't lost in 20 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, we want to keep it going for 21, guys.
Hey, does it come out of your paycheck, by the way? Hey, John
what do I care about what happened 20 years ago? I wasn't even in the business 20 years ago. What the hell do I care?
Why should you care this week? It doesn't come out of, or the Super Bowl, it doesn't come out of your paycheck.
Because we work hard. We want to see the place win. Why? I never understand that question. Why would we not want to win after all the work we put in? I don't understand that.
Every month?
Every week?
Every single month?
I want to win every day.
Every
Paul.
game? Every inning? Every first
game.
period? Every quarter? Every half?
I want every single decision to go our way, or I'll be kicking and screaming like a 5-year-old.
John Gecko, our guest.
I thought you were a bigwig over there. How the hell did you get a Sunday off during the football season? Incidentally, you also missed the day where we made a prop bet 22-1 to go on a date with Maria. What do you think of that action?
Yeah, I heard about that. Who made that number? Was that Kelly?
It might have been Kelly or Charlie M.
Yeah.
And then Sherman came over the top and said they're missing some zeros.
Missing some zeros?
You believe that?
22-1 is pretty high.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of, Mitch, I give Paul more credit than that. I think 22-1 is high. I mean, what's the no on that? That's what we call in the business a one-way number. You put up that 22-1, you're going to write nothing but yes, and you're going to end up with this big liability. Maybe Maria decides she actually takes a shine to our boy Paul. So, I wouldn't go that high with the number. I think that's a one-way number.
He's Buster Douglas light here. Have you seen Maria, by the way? Have you seen Paul?
Oh.
No offense, Paul.
No, Paul. I think Paul's a very eligible guy. I don't know. I'm not sure if I agree with that, Mitch.
I'm just busting his balls.
Look, 22-1 is too high. That would be my take on that.
Absolutely.
She's a trophy, John.
Well, it's like Mayweather-McGregor, man. I mean, we opened that. We probably opened that too high. Look, we knew that Conor wasn't going to beat Floyd, but you write too much money on it and you get yourself into a big liability. I don't want to see that happen again here with Paul.
Yep, well said. Hey, John Boy, what are you seeing are you seeing a lot of action on these first period overs, hockey?
I looked that up, and I haven't really noticed a huge spike in the handle there. And, and I got a question for you guys about that, because I see everybody talking about it on Twitter. And it looks like it's doing very well recently, going over on some of these certain teams like the Lightning and the Blackhawks. But here's my question. If it's so good and it's winning so much, why tell anybody? Just keep it to yourself and just start raking in the money.
No, man of the people. We've got to share it. We're a gambling network. Have to share with the listeners. Absolutely.
No. I say just button it up. Don't say a word.
Nope.
And just reap the rewards, boys. Just take the profits.
But here's the thing. Like, VSiN was created so we could try to help people make some money.
Right.
What are we supposed to do? Just hide everything? Say, hey,
He's a bookmaker. That's what he's talking
John, I've been 88% in the NBA this year betting halftime totals, but I can't tell you who and why and how I bet it because it's a secret. I don't want to let anybody know. What's the point of having me on the air at that point then?
That's a good answer. I just know that if I stumbled upon something that was winning that much, I probably would just keep it to myself.
Nah, I don't care what you think. What was the?
Well, then why do you have me on the show, Paul?
What was
you don't care what I think?
Well, we're gonna have to re-examine evidently.
Not on that particular issue. I don't. You can.
Okay.
You can go pound sand. What did you take a huge tennis bet?
Yeah, we had a guy. I don't remember who he was playing. To tell you the truth, but it was Djokovic in the first round. This gentleman bet $150,000 to win $1,500 on Djokovic.
Oh, now what would you call that? That's not a drink ticket bet. What is that?
I mean, that's that's like we call those bridge jumpers. Obviously, Djokovic won the match very easily, but I'd be nervous, man. What if he, pulled his hamstring or got hurt or something in the match and the only way he's going to lose is if he gets hurt. But hell, what if he got hurt? If you can risk $150,000, what's $1,500 doing for you at that point?
Well, let me run this by you. I kicked this around earlier because to him, winning $1,500 is meaningless, right? It's a drop in the bucket.
I would think.
Is the play there that the chance of losing $150,000 is such a rush? That's why he did it.
Maybe. I can't really explain bets like that. I mean, I guess maybe he just. Is it possible that he's done the math that Djokovic's chances of losing are even less than that? That those odds are actually working out in his favor?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it is just the rush of risking X amount of money like that. I don't know how you could justify making a wager like that in something like a tennis match where it's not like a huge football favorite where tons of stuff would have to go wrong for you to lose. In something like that, all it takes is that one individual to get hurt and you lose.
Yep.
It's not that unrealistic. It is technically possible.
Okay, very good. You're allowed to pass. I know you like to take the easy way out on some of these. Do you have an opinion on the DraftKings fiasco?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really talk about that.
Okay.
Well, I can't talk about other operators, but
sure,
obviously, I read a lot about it. I talked to some friends of mine that participated in it. I think it was a good idea, and I think hopefully that they'll try to do something like that again, and other operators will try to do more things like that. I like it when anyone thinks outside the box and tries new things.
Mm-hmm.
Just the result of what happened over the weekend was certainly unfortunate.
Yeah.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
James Salinas, who's a friend of VSiN, who won the Super Contest, who finished in third place, who finished in 26th place 2 years later. So just an amazing run and undeniably a great, if not the greatest of all time in terms of contest players. James texted me about a week and a half ago, just randomly. He was like, "Hey, Gilly, you heard about this DraftKings contest? Like, it really sounds interesting." And immediately when I heard it was Salinas, I shot him back a text and I said, "Yeah, you don't want to play this. This is a whole scam. You don't want to play this at all. I hear you got to clear it with New Jersey Gaming." So that was the first thing, was how do I eliminate any competition?
17 in a row. So it's San Jose, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and Columbus.
Columbus, another one, yep.
It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And they're playing Calgary tonight, too. It's a freight train.
Mm-hmm.
They don't lose. Knights are on fire, and they can't get any ground.
It's the best bet going on anywhere right now in sports.
It's two teams have hit at least 15 in a row.
At one point,
the Blackhawks had 15 in a row.
Yep.
Tampa's hit 17
and the Lightning said, hold on, 15?
Look at the Tampa Bay scores.
Yep.
They finally lost, but, look at their scores.
The notion that people sort of haphazardly throw out, like, oh, those games even out. Like the one-score things, oh, those games even out. I do not agree with that. I believe that if you are a successful bettor, those games do not even out for you.
Wow, interesting. Why?
Because you are more likely to, when you win very comfortably. And when you lose, you are more likely, if you're good at this, to lose a close
Interesting.
outcome.
Okay.
And so I don't think that the close outcomes even out.
But it's funny how these point spreads and these totals really mirror what you see if you're a subscriber at KenPom.
Yeah, absolutely. I was mentioning off air, but just a few years ago, say a decade ago, if you had access to KenPom numbers, you could regularly beat the market and win against the spread betting college basketball just using KenPom numbers versus what the odds makers were actually opening lines and totals at. Now they're basically copying KenPom. So in order to beat college basketball, you have to be able to beat KenPom numbers, which is a pretty tall task
Very
generally.
tough, yeah.
Welcome back to the best of VSiN. Here are more of our favorite moments from the week.
Vegas Stats and Information Network, Sirius XM Channel 204. It's Gil Alexander. Matt Jones is with me. It's where sports betting analytics live. Actionable sports betting information. Recapping the events of this weekend's DraftKings Sports Betting National Championship. But Rufus Peabody, who finished in third place with us once again. And let's show the standings here. This is after now. Well, we're sort of jumping the gun here. Let's not show these yet. Let's go back to, as the Patriots now are cruising to victory and cruising to a cover over the Los Angeles Chargers. And by the way to not adjust Anthony Lynn, side note, to anything the Patriots were doing. Rufus knows that because we see all the bets, the contest structure was that we get to see all of the bets 30 minutes after they're placed. So by this time, obviously late in the game, Rufus can figure out, hey, I'm going to be in first place after this. So he's thinking to himself, what am I going to do next? So Rufus, take us from that point. The Patriots game is slowly, and I do mean slowly, winding down, probably way longer than you wanted it to go. What was your thought process? What were you thinking? How soon did the thought that this game was going very long creep into your head? Take us through the events.
So first off, I didn't want to jinx the game, so I wasn't counting anything first. And when the Pats went up 14, I was actually a little bit more nervous than I was at the beginning. So,
of course.
But eventually, yes, it got to the point where, well, actually, there was a point when it was a 19-point game, and I was like, uh-oh, 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions, and I lose. It was like 5 minutes to go, but yeah, that didn't happen. I was planning as if the Patriots were going to win because I had to do that. I mean, otherwise I'd be unprepared.
Of course.
And I knew that there might be a quick turnaround time. And I basically looked at what everybody else had done and their patterns of betting and trying to figure out who was going to be conservative, who was going to be aggressive. I figured I'd have a lead of about, I thought the closest person was going to be Moneyline Mike at 57,000, and that ended up being correct. But I couldn't rule out that there was some parlay that hit further back that I just hadn't seen, because it's hard to go through absolutely everybody's, And so, and also I didn't know if anybody had made any live plays that hadn't posted yet. So someone could have placed a bet and it said $5,000 pending, and within if the bet, you don't see the bet until 30 minutes after. So someone could have had a late live bet that messed my thinking a little bit. But in terms of what my thinking was, I still thought that, I thought that I was going to need at least 100,000 to win the whole thing, probably 120. So my first thought was everybody's going to be on the Eagles money line behind me, because people are going to want you can't bet after kickoff, and since you can't really parlay a lot within the same game, the Eagles money line, possibly parlayed towards the under or over, would be one of those big plus money bets that gives people a chance. I was looking and seeing what the limits would be on those by putting in $1 million bets, and seeing what they come back with. And so I saw that I think you could get down, 13,000 something on the Eagles and under or Eagles and over parlayed at plus 500 or plus 525. The line moved, but you could 13,000 down on that. You could get 33,000 down on the Eagles plus 250. So I knew if somebody.
Oh, did we lose Rufus? There we go. Go ahead, Rufus.
Am I here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
You're here.
Okay. So, no, I was – what I wanted to do was protect myself against the people behind me doubling up. I figured if somebody hits a parlay of some sort, then, I tip of the cap to them, right? But I needed to get past that point where someone could just double up and pass me. I guess that was the Final Jeopardy thing there, right?
Right. Exactly akin to Final Jeopardy from your vantage point. Yes.
But there really isn't you can't solve it like you can solve Final Jeopardy, because there are all these. It's not just how much you risk, because there are these different options.
Right.
And
parlays.
To be honest,
and
I
stuff.
saw that.
Yeah.
Like afterwards, when I saw that Moneyline Mikey had gone with all this, would have gotten to 170,000 if the Eagles Moneyline had won. I was like, wow, even if I had doubled up, he would have been able to pass me, because I didn't realize he'd be able to both get as much he got as much down on the money line as I thought he would. But he was also able to get the point spread.
Well, let's put this in linear fashion so people who are just tuning in get a context of this. So, what was it? And what ends up happening is that the Chargers-Patriots game just sort of drags on, and it ends up the game ends roughly 4 minutes before kickoff of the other game. Is that accurate, Rufus?
I think so. I actually stopped. I turned off the Patriots game and just had Fox on, because I wanted to see how close it was to kickoff. Mm-hmm. And when I first did that with a few minutes left in the Patriots game, I was like, oh my God, this is about to kick off. It was alarming how tight it was. And so I was trying to refresh my screen. I don't even know what time the Patriots game actually ended, because I wasn't even on there at that point. I was just, I was refreshing about every 30 seconds and just waiting for my balance to be credited, hoping that they would be able to credit maybe a little bit early, because that game, obviously the outcome wasn't in doubt, but I think per New Jersey state regulations, they can't do that.
So that is therein lies the controversy, though. So for those who are not familiar with this, so Rufus's bet on the Patriots was not graded, not before the end of the Patriots game, and you might say, well, nothing ever gets graded before. As a participant in this contest, this is what makes this sort of doubly weird to me, is there were instances of bets getting graded before the ends, right? Like they were super on top of these things for the balance of the contest. And then this one doesn't get graded for Rufus. He's frantically. So now are you like, Are you just going nuts? Are you cursing? Are you like, oh my God, like what's going on in your head while these 4 minutes elapse?
I was too focused to be going nuts. As weird as that may sound, but I was basically, because I was still at that point, I wanted to see the leaderboard refreshed too. So because if there had been somebody else that was up there, at like 75,000, it would have completely changed what I was going to do. So I was, it was tough, honestly, because I was having to sort of think on the fly. But I knew I had two different plays that I was sort of contemplating depending on where the leaderboard was, and so, but unfortunately, I kept refreshing, and suddenly like the game is kicked off, and my balance is still 1 cent, and I couldn't put anything in.
And let's flash that up on the screen again at VSiN.com and the VSiN app, Fubo TV. There is Rufus. Balance 1 cent, game started, which is Rufus's way of saying, I'm screwed here in terms of trying to win this contest. What would you have played, Rufus? What were the bet or bets you were going to make?
So, as I said before, I thought that, I wanted to protect myself against doubling up. So the thought was going to be to take a Saints bet that got me to that number. So basically, rather than going with, a bet to try to double up when I don't need to, before I saw if I could take an alternate point spread, they had -5 at -175. They could have gotten me to that number I wanted to get to. It would give me a better chance. So the other thing I was considering with that also was an under, because I liked the under a little more, but I liked the fact that I knew everybody would be on the Eagles, so I thought Saints would be game theoretically a little bit better.
So here's the thing now. What's interesting about this, first of all, it should be mentioned, Rufus was not the only one affected, right? So there were other people that were in the same boat. Their straight bets on the Patriots didn't get graded in time. And then again, once kickoff happened in the subsequent game, that was the rules, the pre-flop rules of this contest were no more bets.
Gil, can I correct you on that? I believe the bets did get graded according to the CSVs. From what I've been told, and I can't verify this or anything, but people said it's sort of a two-step process. You have the bets being graded, and then you have the funds being credited to the account.
Got it.
So what I think some people were able to do was get those funds being credited expedited. However, all the bets were not graded at once either. If you look at the CSV file with everybody's bets, you can sort of see that some of these were graded earlier than others. And I think there was people that had the Patriots that were graded about 30 seconds before my Patriots bet was graded. But as I said, it was about the funds being credited to my account, and that's what did not happen.
Right. The Seinfeld equivalent, you can take the reservation, you just can't hold the reservation. Is basically what we're talking about here. So, so others got affected. I think the person who ended up in 5th place would have ended up in 2nd place, for instance. Same boat as you. You would have ended up instead of in 3rd, in 1st. And I guess I also want to, I think the thing that a lot of people aren't talking about, and this occurred to me as well, is there are those who were affected in ways that we'll never really know, right? So let's say you were someone, you bring up Moneyline Mike. Moneyline Mike ended up putting some of his money on the money line on the Eagles and some on the Eagles against the spread. I suppose his thinking, and I'm speculating here, I suppose his thinking was, Rufus is probably going to take the Saints in some form or fashion. If I'm to have any chance of winning this, I'm going to have to put at least part of my bankroll on the money line on this Eagles, on the Eagles in this game. Had he known, let's just take it to another layer here, right? Had he known that you were going to get shut out, he might have been like, oh, forget the money line. I'll just go plus 8.5. Maybe then he wins it, right? So there's tentacles of this.
No, I agree. And actually, I did hear from him afterwards, and he said the same thing. I mean, after the game started, he said like, oh, that completely changed my thinking, because he knew that I was going to be pretty aggressive based on the way I'd been and based on the fact that he knows who I am, and that I am a professional gambler and I'm not someone who was here to sit on my bankroll and be happy with a 3rd place finish or whatever, which is actually what I thought I would be at if I did nothing. So
Okay.
But I agree. I think he would have, if he had known that, he would have just played the spread and would have won.
Up until this happened, Rufus, how did you feel about the event itself? Up until the end, up until this controversy?
So I like the event. I like the idea of it. And I think the format created some excitement. And I actually liked the fact that we could only bet on the NFL stuff on Sunday. I like the game theory of it all. I thought it was fun. That's why I came down here for it. I think that registration was difficult. And I know it's the first time doing this. So there are going to be, I mean, so I don't know, there's a reason there was such a big overlay, and it was because it was very difficult to register. I think they just didn't have enough staff responding to emails. I reached out, and it took the process of registering for the tournament took me about 46 hours. So that was a little difficult, but I was able to get registered. And once I got down here, everybody was like, the staff was really friendly, and it was a great experience once I was there. Aside from the snafu yesterday, of course.
I said the same way. I said it was great till it wasn't, right? It was a great event. It really was. It's sad for everybody, especially you, that it had to end up this way. Here is a statement from DraftKings. Sorry to interrupt, Rufus. We're talking to Rufus Peabody, professional bettor who finished third in the DraftKings Sports Betting National Championship. Half the Massey Peabody Analytics team, half of the duo, Jeff Ma and Rufus Peabody, who host the Bet the Process podcast. Here's the statement. Dave Tooley, our own Dave Tooley, tweeting this out from DraftKings spokesman James Chisholm. Quote, "The first ever sports betting national championship was an incredibly thrilling event. We recognize that in the rules, the scheduled end of betting coincided very closely to the finish of the Patriots-Chargers game." Chisholm continues, "While we must follow our contest rules, we sincerely apologize for the experience several customers had where their bets were not graded in time to allow wagering on Saints-Eagles. We will learn from this experience and improve upon the rules and experience for future events." Unquote. As the person most affected by this, taking your winnings from $1 million down to $250,000, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm glad that they're being honest about it and saying that it was affected, and I'm glad that I actually thought to take a picture of my computer screen, because otherwise people could just say, "Oh, you just weren't on top of it." But I think they were in a very tough position, and they still are in a very tough position, unfortunately, because it seems like no matter what you do, you're going to make somebody upset. You want what happened to not have happened, but it did happen, and so the question is, what's the most fair way to resolve it? You could argue, I think, if a bunch of people were affected, that none of the bets for the late game should count at all, since not everybody had an equal opportunity to place them, and just the contest should end right there. But I don't know.
The game that actually lost us the most money was the Kansas City Chiefs against the Cleveland Browns. That game was really interesting. The first half line on that one was 5.5. And with just a couple minutes to go in the first half, Cleveland brought it to 6. They were down 21-15, and they actually decided to go for 2 instead of kick the extra point. They would have kicked it, we actually would have covered, but they didn't, and that entire game was a disaster for the books.
As a gambler this year, I had a really rough Super Bowl. When you see a high-scoring game like that, bettors who like to play the unders probably not going to do that well. In terms of events I did pretty well on, the first NASCAR race in Las Vegas this year, the Pennzoil 400, I did pretty well. A bunch of places in town will put up different bets in terms of matchups and different kind of props, and it really gives you an opportunity to cash in if you have the right idea.
Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Wow, what a tussle that would be. We thought that it should be at least a 30-1 favorite with Mayweather, because obviously one of the greater fighters that ever entered the ring. But with an up-and-comer and the way that this MMA stuff and UFC stuff has taken off in the last few years, it's about time that they got into the ring together. We opened the fight at 15-1. Got nothing but underdog money. That was Conor McGregor. Small bets, big bets, small bets, big bets. Went down to 10-1. Now to 10-1, quite a different story. We took 3 what you would consider obviously very big bets. 2 $1 million bets who laid to 10-1, and one $800,000 bet that laid 12-1. So as you can see, these 3 bets, you would think, wow, you need Conor McGregor. Well, just the opposite, because ticket count was at least 10-1 on Conor McGregor to upset Mayweather. Everybody, $5, $10, $100, $1,000. We wrote nothing but underdog money on that. So naturally, the outcome of the fight was good for us. With one single event, actually what you would consider, a throw-in match, won us $500,000. So go Mayweather.
Welcome back to the best of VSiN. Here are more of our favorite moments from the week.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to have on the show for the very first time. He's been on VSiN's air many, many times, but has never graced the presence of a numbers game. I am proud to have him on. He formerly was here at the Wynn in Las Vegas. He is now the director of sportsbook operations over at DraftKings. It's Johnny Avello. Good morning, Johnny.
Hey, Gil. Thanks for having me on. It has been a while. I guess maybe you didn't want to have me on. Was that it?
Oh, my goodness, no.
Just
that was
kidding,
never
Gil.
it.
I'm just kidding.
No, I know that was not it at all. You can follow Johnny and all things DraftKings at DK Sportsbook on Twitter. So, Johnny, it was great spending some time with you this past weekend at the DraftKings Sports Betting National Championship, the first contest of its kind. It was a wonderful event. We'll get to the controversy at the end coming up here. But in general, it was just an absolutely fascinating, fun event. From your vantage point, did you get the sense of that as well? And how does this bode for the future? What are you thinking about future similar events?
I was excited for the event. I was excited to go down to a facility that we were going to make our sports book. Not betting. You could bet on your app, but no point of sale type of betting. But you were able to watch all the games, and Gil, I didn't know what that facility was going to look like. We took a warehouse, as you saw, up on about the 8th floor, and when I walked in, I said, "What am I going to have here?" And it was just remarkable what the DK team did to turn that into what I thought was one of the nicest places to watch games. But overall, I was excited about the event. I liked the event, and hopefully we'll keep moving forward with it and improve on it.
Have you had any preliminary talks? I know it's only been a few days. Have you had any preliminary talks with anybody involved at DraftKings about the specific format, how you might tweak it? Were you happy with how it was, or has that conversation not even happened yet?
That conversation has not happened yet. I have received plenty of emails and texts from customers that really like the event a lot, with some ways that they thought may improve it, and we're going to take all of those comments and, gather and hopefully make this the best event ever.
Could you possibly, I'm just thinking out loud here, and I know you won't know the answer to this, but would March Madness be too quick of a turnaround to do another? I'm not saying maybe $1 million grand prize, but if you were to do something of a smaller nature, is that too quick of a turnaround, or do you need some time? Because the one thing about this that I think maybe we would be on the same page on is, given another opportunity, there would have been a longer runway of promotion for this, right? Like it was something that just sort of it wasn't in anybody's sort of crosshairs till very close to the actual event. Would you agree with that?
I think people knew about it back in November, but there was no urgency at that point. And then we started to push it hard, and the VSiN radio really helped us a lot get the word out, and I appreciate that from everyone involved. But we ended up with 259 entries, so we fell way short of the 500 that we needed to break even, and that wasn't an important part for us. It really wasn't. We just wanted to throw an event. We wanted to make it something that people would continue to come back to maybe in years to come. But I thought the format was great, and I'm excited at moving forward with another one. Now, to talk about the March Madness one, I don't know, Gil. That's March Madness is like 2 months away, and it seems too tight of a time. But I don't know. I guess I'll talk to some of the guys back at the home office, but I would say that's precedent.
Well, I will tell you, it was really a wonderful event. I enjoyed the format. Again, it's not your everyday sports betting behavior, but it was a game, and it was a fascinating game to play with different strategies and the best of many disciplines, not only sports betting, but fantasy players, poker players. Phil Hellmuth, obviously, there as well. It was a great event. And for those wondering what Johnny was talking about earlier, the event was sort of centered in a warehouse in Jersey City, a warehouse to the degree where when I was Ubering in, Johnny, even the Uber driver was like, you guys know where you're going? And thankfully you had signs there that directed us in, and it was the 8th floor. It didn't even look like it had 8 floors, and it opened to this massive warehouse type of floor with many, many TV screens, big TV screens, couches, everybody centralized in one place. You didn't have to be there. You just had to be in the confines of the state of New Jersey. But being centralized, that was a real great atmosphere, and I hope at least on an annual basis, you'll do something like that again.
I agree, and like I said, when we have the meetings, we'll talk about that again. And it's I was surprised when I walked into the place because I said, This is as nice as any Vegas sports book. So maybe we'll just keep it open, year round. But anyway, it was quite surprised to see that facility.
We're talking to John Avello, the DraftKings Sportsbook Director. We all know and love him from the Wynn past years as well here at Vegas. So, Johnny, then the question that needs to be asked then is the controversy that wrapped up this event, where I had Rufus Peabody on the air on Monday. Rufus, who officially finished 3rd in the contest. And the controversy, of course, as you know, but I'll just refresh for listeners who might have missed it, is that Rufus would be in first place after the Patriots game ended. He knew that would be the case. Everybody, based on the bets that were listed, Rufus would be, and in fact was in first place after that game ended. The problem is that the period of time between the end of that game and the kickoff of the Saints-Eagles game, where Rufus, correctly so, would have to place another bet to try to secure a victory, and using game theory to do that, the bets did not, they may have graded, but they did not fund. Let's put it that way. A two-pronged process there, as I understand it. And so therein lies the controversy. Rufus didn't get a chance, as it turned out, when Will Lutz missed that 52-yard field goal and the Saints held on to win but not cover. The way the other bets landed, Rufus and others, Rufus was not the only one affected. There was others who had a Patriots straight bet that were affected. Have you found out any reasoning as to why that happened the way it did in terms of the mechanics of the funding? And B, what's your official statement now on how you are going to, what's your stance on that controversy now, and how might you deal with it?
Well, first of all, the system, Gil, when we went back, the system worked exactly the way it's supposed to work. The processing of the bets is automated. And DraftKings, we don't determine how the order of the payouts. So what happened was the bets were graded. As you said, they were, the process takes place. There were 30,000 wagers or so. Now, remember, there's a 4-minute time window. First of all, that game, I couldn't believe how long that game took to get over with. So finally it did end. There was about a 4-minute window there. And it took a while for those 30,000 plus bets to get graded. Now, markets were graded at the same time. So, if we were in one market, that whole market got graded. Now, of course, if there was more money in a certain market, that may have taken longer. Because remember, we're not only dealing with the contest, we're dealing with all DK customers throughout the New Jersey. And there were 400 markets or so that were offered on the game. So it was just that it took that much time to process, and you need that much time. That's just kind of the way it is when you have a large volume.
Now, you said something in there. You said DraftKings doesn't determine the order of how they're graded. Explain that to me.
No, once you hit a button, to grade them, one market may have more money or more bets in it, and so that market's going to take longer to grade. That's all I'm saying is that anything that has more money or more volume would take longer because the processing would take longer.
I see. So it's a processing question.
It's a processing question.
DraftKings put out a statement about this, acknowledging that it was unfortunate that this happened and that that you will learn from this and moving forward. What is your take on this now at this point, Johnny? Do you feel as though this matter is closed? Are there things that you're doing behind the scenes? Are there things that you can't openly talk about?
Well, Gil, there's one thing that hasn't really been mentioned, and there was emails that went out on Sunday morning to the contestants, and it went out in a welcome letter, and it said that we addressed this situation that could possibly happen. We said that settlement times on bets on the Chargers-Pats game could vary, potentially until after the start of the Eagle game when betting closes. And we said especially if the game goes longer than normal or into overtime. So to be mindful of the cash-out feature on applicable markets when getting your final bets in before closes. So we made the customers aware that this could possibly happen. Now, unfortunately, it did happen, and we're sorry it happened, because of, a few bettors getting closed out. But, that was in the rules. They were aware of that, and unfortunately, it happened.
Well, this is why we want to have both sides on the show. Rufus is on Monday, and like you said, it's unfortunate that it happened. I think we all agree on that. But I'm glad we have you on to express that point, because you're right. We haven't expressed that point. At least I haven't on this show, which is that in the email that was noted. And as any sports bettor knows, that's always a possibility, right? Any sports bettor who's been betting sports long enough knows that there is potentially a lag time that occurs between the grading and funding and an event that you might want to bet on later if you don't have the amount of funds. In a contest like this, and I think this is where the two things meet, Johnny, and I think this is what you might be intimating, where game theory is as integral as anything to this, if not the most important thing. That is a tough reality, right? So it's not a normal betting thing. It's a contest. So therein lies the rub, and I think that falls under the general category of we will improve on that if I'm reading between the lines.
You are correct. Now, Gil, we acknowledge that some people in the contest didn't get the best experience. We understand that, and we apologize for that. And so, like you said, we're going to take everything that happened, going to learn from it, and make the contest better moving forward. That's what now. That doesn't probably sit well with some people because of who it was and where they stood at the time. But it just was, the rules were stated out, and we had rules in there, and we were just going to go back and look at everything and make sure that things like this don't happen again. Now, I've run a lot of contests, Gil, horse racing contests, and I remember one of my early contests. I did something where I had all the racetracks, and one of the races had mules in it, and a guy said to me, you got to run a contest with mules in it. Now, that was actually my fault because I didn't look deep into it. But as far as DraftKings goes, we did try to cover all circumstances that could happen, but we want to make sure that we can, get around some of those circumstances that could happen. Make sure that even if those circumstances come into play, that there's another way to go. So that's what we'll do when we all get together again and try to make this.
All right. We might have lost Johnny there at the end. Johnny, I appreciate it. You're a gentleman for coming on. Thank you for doing so. And on another occasion, we'll talk with more happy things to talk about, perhaps, than the ending of that. But it was a wonderful event before that, and it was just a great experience I think I speak for most who were there, and we all acknowledge what happened at the end. But it was a wonderful experience besides that for most, and I think everybody who was in it, to a man, would love to do it again. So I think in that vein, you should be happy about the event for sure. And I thank you for coming on.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
2004, I almost won the Super Contest Classic, my first year in it.
Okay.
And I missed it by a field goal. I think I had the Jets, and they missed their field goal in overtime, and the Rams got theirs. And so I went from winning the thing with tiebreakers to finishing tied for fourth. That was a $220,000 swing on a missed field goal. That's 15 years ago.
By the way, nobody's seen that kicker since.
So
George sees him every day in his dream.
So I'm a little bit philosophical when there's that much money on the line, at least not money I've put out, but money I could have won.
You have to help me out here. How is there nobody, they don't have anybody on the roster who can make a 25-yard field goal? And there's, Janikowski's had injury issues before. He left the game earlier in the year. I mean, what's going on here that he doesn't, I can't believe, what if they got the onside kick?
I don't even understand what that was. I don't even know what that was. I can't imagine that that's what they wanted. I can't imagine that they practiced their onside kick and that kid just, I don't even know what the hell that was. Like, seriously, why don't you just give them the ball back if you're going to do that?
I love the regular season. I know people are like, what's the point? I'm just going to tune in for the playoffs. But this is the point, to see teams like the Nuggets that are powering along, that feel like they have something they need to prove and taking that next step. But no, they may be 26-12, and they may be a game ahead of the Warriors and a game and a half ahead of the Thunder. But come playoff time, there's going to be that sort of new learning curve for them, and they're probably going to get hit in the mouth. But still a great story to this point.
So I'm riding the Duke train. They are better, and I rate them, I think, 4 points better than Gonzaga on a neutral court, despite the loss to Gonzaga. The reason Gonzaga has a shot, again, if they meet in the tournament, and maybe Tennessee's close, is they have the size to at least defend these NBA guys without just having to foul every time or give up layups and dunks. They can actually force Duke to hit threes, where I think they rank 240th in three-point percentage. They only shoot 32% from three. And so if they're cold, which they were against Gonzaga, that's going to be a chance to beat them, right? It's one game, the variance is super high.
Welcome back to the best of VSiN. Here are more of our favorite moments from the week.
I'll tell you what's fascinating is this Kyler Murray prop that Bet 365 put up, and then he had the announcement about going to go into the draft. He was, first of all, I thought that this is a ridiculous. Where would he go in the first round? Over under 28.5.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I thought it was too high.
This was creative. What will happen first? He'll get a hit in the major leagues, or he'll attempt to pass in the NFL. Hit was -$2,
and that was before he announced NFL draft.
But
right?
I just think the kid loves football.
Either way, yeah,
I think he just prefers football.
That's exactly. I think that's exactly.
But that's a tough price, though. I don't know how you would make some of these props about what this kid's going to do.
I think.
He's going to show up by middle of February if he wants to go to camp with the A's, but here he's got to get ready for the combine and everything.
So you think he'll go to spring training? Or you think he'll go to the camp?
Mitch, I don't know. He'd be the shortest quarterback since Flutie.
Yeah.
But I think someone will fall in love with him at the Underwear Olympics, and he'd go top 10.
I think it's a good timing. I think someone's whispering in his ear, you're going to be a high pick.
Or he has a team already talked to him.
He knows what he's doing, yeah.
Someone reached out to the agent, said if he's, whatever it is.
Yeah. I made it before the Bovada I thought he'd go... if he is going to come out, I thought he'd go top 10, maybe at least to the Giants, or my stupid Redskins might trade down and do some RG3 kind of move and try to get him.
I'll tell you what, here's the deal. If you could give me like a price on top 10, I would probably bet that.
I'll work on that.
I personally, I really question whether or not he's going to go that high, and maybe if you can come up with something for him to be number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, that's...
And I say that because...
Make some change on that.
There's actually been chatter on that, to where he could be or should be the number 1 overall pick. And then don't forget about what Kingsbury said, too. That he would take him number 1 overall. Yep. And now people have actually said, watch out, Rosen could get traded. Arizona, there would be a huge market for him if they wanted to deal him and then take Murray number 1 overall anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
Could you imagine if that actually took place?
Can't make it too high, actually. It could happen. Anything can happen, right?
Yeah. But also, the NFL has become, I mean, it really is, they're trying to make it college football anyway. You get these guys in space, and he's so elusive, and he can run for 60 yards in a game in the NFL. And if he avoids the contact, there's a lot of ifs there.
The flavor of the day. Kind of, you know.
Right.
McVay's coaching tree all of a sudden is getting.
Hey, start the tank right now for Lawrence. Just start the rebuild.
Yeah.
Like Miami.
2-year tank job.
Start the rebuild in Miami and get ready for Lawrence. And do that.
God, he's good. He's going to be fun.
But I don't know how I don't know what. 28.5 is way too high, though. He's got to.
Then they do minus 250, but they're taking $50 on that, right? Like,
I don't know. That I don't know. That's a question for Ben in Prince Edward Island.
Sherm had a couple zeros. Sherm take 5 dimes on that, but I don't know about
That's
Bovada.
a tough one.
So then you came up with that. How many quarterbacks are going to get drafted ahead of him? You came up with that number.
Well, they are out there, but I tried to make them before they were on the Bovada. I didn't look at anything.
Right.
And my juice was a little higher on the 2.5 and stuff, but I would bet it at the minus $2 for under two quarterbacks taken.
I think so too.
Oh.
Because give me the quarterbacks that
Haskins
go before him.
And
maybe Haskins.
Missouri
Lock?
quarterback. Yeah.
I don't know. His stock's kind of. He's all over the place.
That
Well, the
might-
Herbert thing changed everything, but that's.
I'm not going to be surprised.
It happens every year, though. Everyone, remember that one year we were watching we had a draft party. Locker went, Ponder went.
Oh, right, yeah.
Gabbert went.
That was that
These
year.
teams panic every year.
I laughed.
It's a quarterback.
Yep.
We need one. Who gives a shit?
Yep.
Take him.
Laughed at every pick.
But isn't that you need it now, right? What are the Redskins going to do next year?
I don't know.
They're going to take Kyler Murray. They're going to trade up to take
You don't think they would take him, trade up at some? I don't think he's going to go that high. I think he's going to go quick.
You're always going to be able to find exactly right, both of you guys here. You can right now go down the first round order, and you can come up with at least 5 teams that are like, you know what? They probably need a quarterback.
Can't pass him.
Sure. Like they have to take that kid.
Exactly. It's not the Tebow kind of thing. That was a good draft prop back in the day. Tebow, he fell. He was plus money or something because someone took him way earlier than they thought. Denver, obviously.
Oh yeah, Denver. Yeah.
Well, remember Johnny Manziel? At one offshore book, his spot was number 4 overall.
He was probably hooked
Number
into
4.
that. Isn't he in with the offshore guys now? Isn't he like
I think so, yeah.
Sponsored. It's on his little chest there.
Yeah, tattooed, I think.
Yeah.
Will Murray play both baseball and football in 2019? You made the yes 8-1, no minus.
That was Bovada's 8-1. I would have made it 15-1. I don't think he's going to play 2 sports nowadays. No, I don't think so.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
No, it's different. Bo and Dion could do it. Because of where Dion just line up and cover somebody. Bo was just going to hand you the ball.
Yeah.
This guy's got he's a quarterback.
Right.
He's got to be in the meetings and everything.
He's going to play quarterback and then go play center field and hit third?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, stay away from baseball. Get in the real. Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Let me ask you this. 2-part question here. For Charlie M in studio here, Follow the Money, Sirius XM 204, Fubo TV. What do you think your biggest strength is as a bettor and also as a line maker or a bookmaker?
Biggest strength is a bettor. Having money, right? That's all you need is information, getting the most information. Like I always say that, but it's just the classic term. Going back in the day, if you knew the quarterback was out all night or something, just things like that. I like having not inside information, but watching the line moves. Like the more you see, the more you do this, the better you can be at it, and the more you understand it.
The quicker you are.
Right.
The more you process it, yep.
It's almost a race.
We're getting the best of the number.
Once you get to a certain level of this stuff, it's a race to get the number. And between different groups or people or, Rufus is out there, those guys. They're smart, man. You got to.
I know Alan Boston was going off on Twitter last weekend.
Again? No.
He's like, I'm done. I no more. He said the syndicates that move the numbers overnight.
Yeah.
They're like, have fun dealing with this from now on. He's like, I'm not going to allow it to happen anymore.
Well, you never know if it's a crazy world out there with the runners and the people. You don't know where the money's coming from. It's it's a big world of I don't know. It's a give and take. Lots of information going around.
Well, the thing that drives him nuts is the end game scramble points. It's you'll be covering
the entire time,
and then it's like someone hits a 3 late, and then they choose not to. It comes down to who fouls down 10 and who doesn't, or down 8, whatever it is, and that will drive him nuts. And he bets a ton of games, as we know him. We've known him for a long time. And he bets a ton of games every single night, and just the randomness. He can't handle the randomness, and this is what he would tell us. He would crush it back in the day, but now it's just because of that with the lines too. That he would say that. Well, how about a bookmaker? Your creativity, and also that this is where where Vegas is dropping the ball. To be able to name your price on some of these sites and globally about anything. You can just pick your price on anything, and it doesn't matter what the sport is.
Well, even I keep saying Rufus Peabody. I saw he wanted the Saints -5 in the contest, -175 or something.
Yeah.
And see if you could bet all that stuff at that's a real sports contest, though. And I don't know. But yeah,
one guy hit a big ticket. He had an alternate NBA.
alternate
That's the other
spread,
thing.
and you could parlay 'em,
right?
and-
He put hockey puck lines on there.
It's like the 5 dimes. It's just the prices. Parlay 'em if you want. That's why the bet
they send that
365.
right. They send that to us on Twitter every night.
Yep.
It's like, hey, you can parlay the hockey. You can bet a goal in the first 5 minutes. You can parlay. They let you do anything over there.
Sir, come on in, please.
Exactly
Whatever you
right.
want.
Right.
Yeah, Google parlay calculator. There's your number.
Yes,
That's
right.
it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Basically, if you have an idea with some offshore books and say, well, I don't see this up, can you put it up? They'd say, okay, probably, yeah.
Most people, yeah.
Come back
And
tomorrow, we'll have it up.
Yeah. That's happened with the Rory McIlroy's dad walking into Ladbrokes
That's
and
awesome.
betting,
That's a
betting
great
on him,
story.
and they took it. Come on, that's awesome.
Will my Yeah, he said he walked in. It's like
Will
you.
my son
Will
win
my
a
son
major?
win what by a certain age? They put it
Awesome.
up.
They say, write it on a piece of toilet paper. Yeah, sure. Stamp it.
Yep. I sent Ben the money last week.
There you go.
They were allowed. You could parlay those 4 props.
Yeah.
Defensive or no special teams touchdown for all 4.
You asked where I'm moving to Canada. That's where I'm going right now.
There you go. Amen, brother.
Just live on those parlays.
I mean, here they don't even put the goddamn thing up. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, can't even
Parlay, no
straight.
defensive special team, and they had him in the wild card round up at a lot of places. I didn't see him anywhere.
I didn't see
for the.
No, the Alabama Clemson they had it.
They had it up for the
West.
championship.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it for. It's an NFL playoff game.
Maybe you should just turn these off and stop talking about all of the NHLs and everything.
Yeah, right.
Here's another
They're
one,
on to you.
by the way, the Super Bowl props, right? I'm sure a lot of these books, Bet365, others, you can parlay a million of the props, right?
Yeah.
Here at the Westgate, again, they've been the leader here in Las Vegas for a long, long time. They'll come up with like 480 props, whatever the number is. It's like 26 pages this thick. They have like 2 pages where you can parlay. That's
Parlay
it.
'em,
But
yeah.
that's it. But I think offshore, you can probably parlay
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, anything that you want, yeah.
And we're talking like we don't know the industry and stuff with the gaming we have to go through to get all that stuff done. But I don't know, if they can do those, why not?
How about the customer service angle? And you were at CG Technology, and also you were in Madrid and working in a book too.
Yes, sir.
So the school's out on these first period in NHL. When do you think you're getting carried away with the juice and you're robbing people? Or do you say, well, wait a second, it's 20-1 if you're Tampa. Enough's enough. And they're up at William Hill. Thanks to Bill for pointing it out. Penguins, Sharks, over a goal and a half is -170 with the juice. Tampa is $1.60, and Columbus is $1.45.
So they're kind of on it. God, they opened them early though.
But on
That's
5
good.
dimes yesterday, Toronto's not even on the list, the top 5. They were
Really?
it was 230.
230.
Scoreless first period.
I think once you hit 250, you got to move it to 2, right? You said someone moved it to 2.
They did.
Or see, why don't we do like the Asian, called Asian handicap or the total, like 1.75?
Right.
I think a couple people have told me because you have to explain that to people, and it would take 2 hours for someone to understand. You win one bet and you push the other.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think -250. If you start seeing that, then what do you do? Is it go the other way? No.
Yeah, that's a 230. Jesus.
I'm not going to go above. I mean, I saw 190 with the Sharks in Ottawa, and I guess it kind of fit because the Sharks have been so good. I'm not. There's no way I was going to lay $190 with the first period.
The UFC guy that John Murray knows, the Italian stallion guy, he has a quote. You don't pay juice on a winner. That's his.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
But also,
that's not him. That's
that's
a
everyone,
great line.
right?
That's
Yeah.
everyone. That's a great
But also,
okay.
Brian Blessing said last week, and he's been following hockey and betting hockey his entire life. He said, in his opinion, anything more than a quarter is like crazy talk in the NHL.
First year of nationwide sports betting to me went pretty well. I mean, there was the to be expected gaffes and mistakes by operators, but in the long run, I think everything's headed towards positivity, and I see great things to come on the horizon in Nevada and the United States in general.
One of the biggest changes that we've seen this last year since the expansion of sports betting is that there's been a lot more novice bettors coming up to the window. People saying, hey, I've always been interested in this, but I've never done it before. Can you explain to me how this works? Which is a great opportunity for sportsbook, for people that work in the sportsbook, to really explain how fun sports betting is. I would say, for me, that's been the biggest change that we've seen. There's a lot of people coming up that really didn't understand sports betting, but that kind of got bit by the bug.
I expect big things in 2019, especially for Las Vegas. As it continues to have a growth and increase, it can only spread and help our handle, and without a doubt, it's a great thing. So I'm expecting 2019 to be a huge year for sports gambling as a whole throughout the United States, and especially here at the Rampart and South Point.
It is nothing but an absolute hit everywhere, and everybody that I speak to who is one of these books now, it's just been overwhelming. It did not hurt Nevada like a lot of people thought it would. It didn't hurt anybody because what it did, it just created new customers. And as we speak, I think there's 8 other states now who are involved in this, in single game sports wagering. I would venture to say 3 to 5 years, we'll be close to 20 states. We're finding out that it is what we told them it was years ago. There's really nothing wrong with betting on your favorite team, with the favorite team with a monetary value in it. So what we're finding out is just like everything else. If you let it out there, and it'll smooth out. Growing pains, absolutely. But it came at the right time. Finally, after all these years. So it'll be here. It'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. Bet on that.
Welcome back to the best of VSiN. Here are more of our favorite moments from the week.
Bring in Dwayne Colucci, manager over at the Race and Sports at the Rampart Casino. And Dwayne, I have to ask you first off, are you all right considering your Cowboys were eliminated by the Los Angeles Rams over the week?
I'm doing okay, guys. You know, it was kind of expected. I just thought the game would have been, way closer. I never thought that the running game that the Rams put out there was, it was amazing. They just controlled the line of scrimmage. Goff never got hit. That was also against my philosophy. And they just, the score was a little closer than it really indicated. They did dominate the game outside of, a few missed calls or bad calls, but I really can't even blame the refs. Dallas made the mistake of taking that penalty, the illegal hands to the face, and that was huge. And, if they go for 2 on their last score, you might have got a push and eked it out. But, I think Garrett, I don't know why he thought they were getting the ball back because they never were able to hold them throughout the game. So it was disappointing.
Yeah, the Dallas defense, I thought would be a lot tougher against the run. That was the biggest surprise to me in that game. Dwayne, do you think the Rams are going to be able to run on the Saints this week? The top 2 run defenses in the NFL are Chicago and New Orleans, and it's awfully tough to run on that Saints defense.
Yeah, without a doubt, Matt. This is going to be an interesting game. The Rams really impressed me with the control of the line of scrimmage. But as you said here, now we're facing a very tough run defense in New Orleans. But I think the Rams will be able to move the ball. I mean, I think they have a chip on their shoulders. They really played with some swagger. It looked like Gurley is fully healthy. So, it really looked like the Rams have turned the corner, whereas the Saints were struggling again. It seemed that they were slow out of the gate. It seemed that Breeze was definitely rusty. And if they come out like that again, I think that definitely the Rams are going to be, a force in this game. And I think they can control the line of scrimmage and possibly win the game.
How's this game going to be bet, Dwayne? And do you think it's going to be strong two-way action? Do you think the number's going to close at 3? Or are you, as a bookmaker, going to be pulling for the Rams? You're going to need the Rams because there's going to be lopsided action on the favorite.
Yeah, Matt, it's interesting. We put up the 3.5. At South Point and Rampart, and somebody jumped right on the Rams, and we were down to 3, but then the Saint money came rolling right back in. So the Saints, when they play at home, attract a lot of money, yet we have the Rams, who are an LA team, advancing for the first time in a long time to a championship round. So, I'm anticipating some great two-way action here, guys. I think this is a very tough game to handicap. I think it'll probably sit at 3.5. I don't think we'll see 4, and, if we go back down to 3, then we subject ourselves to a ton of New Orleans money. So I'm kind of thinking that if we have the right line, 3.5, 56.5 currently at Rampart and South Point.
Dwayne, talk about the change in the line from the first meeting to now, because what's changed? Because you can make the argument here, you almost brought it up. I mean, if you look at these two teams kind of trending in different directions, especially offensively, the Saints have not looked the same. You could even argue all the way back to when they dropped 45 points on the Rams, and yet the line is 3.5 at open, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I think that these teams have definitely changed, JVT. And the Rams for the better. I always feel that a team that keeps the pedal to the metal is the team to beat. And even in the last closing weeks when they didn't have much to play for, they were playing their starters. And, they definitely are going to have a great game plan here. C.J. Anderson, I don't know where. I mean, this guy couldn't run for Carolina earlier in the season, and now the guy is just like a bowling ball. And, if they could control the line of scrimmage and hold New Orleans, which a lot of teams have, let's keep in mind that Dallas beat Philadelphia twice down the stretch, and New Orleans. The Rams manhandled the Cowboys. So maybe the Rams are just the best team. And, New Orleans has struggled and limped into these playoffs, and they don't look all that effective on the offensive side of the ball. And I find that hard to believe, but yet it's happening.
Yeah, that's what I keep going back to with the Saints. That's why I think catching 3.5 with the Rams here is actually a decent bet. The Saints' offense has not been the same. And JVT, you look at it, the explosive plays just not been there. Breeze is not hitting big plays in the vertical passing game. It's all short throws, and they're trying to grind it out now with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, and I have faith in the fact that you have the worst team in terms of yards per carry allowed. That's the Los Angeles Rams. You have a really good running back in Alvin Kamara. Maybe that'll open something up with Breeze. But to your point, you go back to the Eagles game, the interception, likely a touchdown, but he underthrows the guy and it's picked off. So there has been a difference here with Drew Brees. What about the total, Dwayne? We're looking at this right now, and it's sitting right now at about, depending where you look, 57, 56.5. You guys have 56.5. Where do you expect this to end up?
Well, I think it may come down just a bit, but I think this total also is set just proper. It's tough to anticipate. Will Kamara open things up, like you just said, JVT, or will it be the way Ezekiel Elliott was, where he was just shut down and, the Rams are able to shut down the running game. But if that happens, then Breeze has to throw, and that means the Rams are scoring. So this total is very tough to handicap. I would slightly favor the under, and I think that we're going to get some more under money, in this particular total in this game.
Yeah, I'm with Dwayne there. I actually, just like he phrased it perfectly, slightly favor the under because I don't have a strong opinion here. But
80 total points, yeah, when they met up the first time.
45-35 the first time, but both these offenses are different. Jared Goff, JVT, has not been the same quarterback since Cooper Kupp.
Oh, his numbers are
he's
abysmal.
Yeah, totally different quarterback. And Breeze has not been as effective either, really. You go back and look at the last 7 games. Obviously, he didn't play in Week 17 against the Panthers. But his numbers have not been that good if you go back to around Thanksgiving. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game is we've seen this in the playoffs too, right? Aside from that Patriots win over the Chargers, which kind of got out of hand in the fourth quarter just because it was a blowout. We've seen more defensive games in the postseason, obviously.
And the totals have gotten a lot shorter, too. I mean, you look at all of them, especially Wild Card Weekend. There's like 51s or, low 40s, like 43 and whatnot and everything. So the totals have gotten a lot tighter, too. Anything else here? You want to go to AFC Championship game?
AFC.
All right, let's go to the AFC then, Dwayne. New England, Kansas City. We're sitting at Kansas City as a 3-point favorite. Total now 56. I wanted to ask you, though, Sam and I were talking about the money line on this game. Chiefs minus 150. I would expect maybe with what the Patriots did last weekend and the fact that it is the Patriots in an AFC Championship game for the 8th consecutive year that they're going to get a lot of run on the money line. Where do you expect this money line price to end up?
Yeah, this is a great game. This is the game we waited for, guys, without a doubt. The rematch of Week 6. New England people are going to take the money line, but, the 3 points it's just as good as it could be. I definitely like Tom Brady getting points in this situation. I kind of think that, this is also the teams have switched it up a lot and changed a lot since Week 6. But New England, if I remember correctly, I mean, they thoroughly dominated for 3 quarters. And then it just seemed like they went, rested on their laurels a little, kicked the last-second field goal to win the game. I think New England has improved, and their running attack in this cold weather, it's supposed to be very, very cold at this game. I think that Sonny Michel is definitely the X factor. This guy is unbelievable. I mean, he just runs the ball. The short passing game as well. That was the Chargers' weakness, and they exploited that big time. And then the Chargers started to play zone, and Tom Brady is just picking it apart. So, this is a great game. This is the game we waited for. I think a lot of New England fans will take the money line, but I'm enticed. I like the 3 points myself in this spot, and I like Tom Brady's chances, Bill Belichick's chances in this spot.
Hey, DC, what about if it's sub-zero temperatures or, below 10 degrees, Arctic blast hits? You think that helps the Patriots maybe a little bit? I've always felt Brady is a really good cold weather quarterback. He's not going to have the advantage of deflating the footballs this week. But I do think that Brady is a really good cold weather quarterback, and that maybe the Patriots, because Sony Michel and that running game, that power running game is really developed here, that might be a little bit of an edge for the Pats. Do you agree or no?
Yeah, definitely, Matt, because, without Kareem Hunt, it's a different ball game. If they're able to run the ball as effectively as New England can, then, it's a battle of field position. But here I think that the Chiefs will be resting on Pat Mahomes here, and I think that Tom Brady is the better cold weather quarterback. I mean, it's so easy to say that because he's so battle-tested, been there, done that. The age, though, is a factor. When you get to that cold weather, the bones start to get a little stiff. And, this is why this is a great matchup. I would slightly favor New England in the cold weather because, just like we said, the 3-prong running attack is just fabulous. You got Gronkowski, who, he's a monster as well, whereas the Chiefs are going to be looking to get them crossing patterns across the field, get some deep plays to Tyreek Hill where he could run and use his legs. Fabulous matchup, but would slightly favor Tom Brady as a cold weather quarterback just because of the vast experience that Tom has.
Follow him on Twitter at NYBookieDwayne. He's at the Rampart. I'm gonna have to stop by soon. Last time I was out there, Dwayne, you were not around. What? I know you're there. I know you're there like 6.5 days a week. So I just showed up at the wrong time. What days you try to take off now?
I try to take off on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, but I am in the office a lot now. We have a lot of seminars going on. We have a lot of good things and promotions going on for the championship games. At halftime, we'll be giving away gift cards this week. So I'll be down at South Point actually tomorrow to join Brent. A lot of things going on. Cool. Very, very busy man at this time of the season.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
James Salinas, who's a friend of VSiN, who won the Super Contest, who finished in 3rd place, who finished in 26th place 2 years later. So just an amazing run and undeniably a great, if not the greatest of all time in terms of contest players. James texted me about a week and a half ago, just randomly. He was like, hey, Gilly, you heard about this DraftKings contest? Like, it really sounds interesting. And immediately when I heard it was Salinas, I shot him back a text and I said, yeah, you don't want to play this. This is a whole scam. You don't want to play this at all. I hear you got to clear it with New Jersey Gaming. So that was the first thing was, how do I eliminate any competition?
17 in a row. So it's San Jose, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and Columbus.
Columbus, another one, yep.
It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And they're playing Calgary tonight, too, who's a freight train. Mm-hmm. They don't lose. Knights are on fire, and they can't get any ground.
It's the best bet going on anywhere right now in sports.
It's 2 teams have hit at least 15 in a row.
At one point,
the Blackhawks had 15 in a row.
Yep.
Tampa's hit 17
The Lightning said, hold on, 15?
Look at the Tampa Bay scores.
Yep.
They finally lost, but, look at their scores.
The notion that people sort of haphazardly throw out like, oh, those games even out. Like the one-score things, oh, those games even out. I do not agree with that. I believe that if you are a successful bettor, those games do not even out for you.
Wow, interesting. Why?
Because you are more likely to when you win very comfortably. And when you lose, you are more likely, if you're good at this, to lose a close
Interesting.
outcome.
Okay.
And so I don't think that the close outcomes even out.
But it's funny how these point spreads and these totals really mirror what you see if you're a subscriber at KenPom.
Yeah, absolutely. If you, I was mentioning off air, but just a few years ago, say a decade ago, if you had access to KenPom numbers, you could regularly beat the market and win against the spread betting college basketball just using KenPom numbers versus what the odds makers are actually opening lines and totals at. Now they're basically copying KenPom. So in order to beat college basketball, you have to be able to beat KenPom numbers, which is a pretty tall task
Very
generally.
tough, yeah.
Welcome back to the best of VSiN. Here are more of our favorite moments from the week. Well, it is time for Vinny and Mike and Brent to welcome to the microphone from the Westgate Superbook, Mr. John Murray. John, how you doing, big fella?
Brent, I'm doing well today. How are you today, sir?
I'm great. Listen, we always, I'm so accustomed to talking to you about the lines for the Super Contest, but no Super Contest this week. So I'm going to put a prop up from the South Point, okay? Chris Andrews put it up. The total number of combined touchdown passes by Goff, Breeze, Brady, and Mahomes. Vinny just ran out to check because people have been betting. The over-under number is 9.5. What do we have on the numbers, Vinny?
9.5 over 15, minus 105 on the under. So, folks, they like it. They like it over.
That's a fun prop. I like that, Vinny. That's a fun that's a fun addition. I kind of lean to the under myself.
Mm-hmm.
10 touchdown passes in 2 games. That's a lot.
It is.
Okay. Now, here's what's interesting, John, because yesterday, Derek Stevens, when he came in to bet the $100,000 on the basketball, the 4 teams, he dropped $3,000 on the over. I was leaning just to what you said, but then I got Mike and Derek. But I want to put this up from Jeff Fogel of VSiN. Interesting backdrop for the South Point's NFL quarterback prop. Goff, Breeze, Brady, and Mahomes at 9.5. That's the number we put out over under. Last week, they combined for 3. Breeze 2, Brady 1, others goose egg. Until I read this from Jeff, I had no idea it was that low. I didn't know that.
I'll tell you why I kind of like the under. I don't think that Brady or Drew Brees is 100% right now. I was watching their games closely last Sunday. Brady can't throw the ball downfield hardly at all, and Brees doesn't seem to have the accuracy with the deep ball that he had earlier in the year. So, and I don't think that much of Jared Goff. Now, Patrick Mahomes, he could go out there and get you 4 by himself.
No
and
question.
then you'd be in trouble if you had the under. But I don't think Breeze and Brady are 100% right now. That's why I would kind of lean to the under on that prop.
Interesting prop. And to Jeff's point and what John is talking about, the opposite side of it, Brent, is people, obviously, the general public will look at the fact, hey, these are rematches and what happened in the first 2 games. Well, obviously, the Saints-Rams is in the same setting. But, the other game was in October. It was much nicer weather. But they did combine for 12, if I'm not mistaken, right? In those 2 games previously. So I know the public is going to look at that part. But listen, we know, John, right? The public they love to bet overs. They're going to root for touchdowns. They're going to root for scoring in these games. So.
No doubt, and I think that if it does go under 9.5, that'd probably be good for both of our books, Vinny. Setting aside Mr. Stevens' bet, I just know that the lower scoring those 2 games are on Sunday, I think would be better for us.
Translate to the game totals coming under. That's right.
That's what I'm thinking. Yes,
there you go, buddy.
Every time, John, that Ron Flatter comes in with an update, it gets warmer in Kansas City. I have to tell you. I mean, it's going to be swimsuit weather by the time he gets finished with the updates today. It's been incredible,
Yeah, I was telling the guys yesterday that I think it's always funny when they show a camera shot of the stadium looking cold, or if there's snow on the field especially, we just get this rush of under money, and then they show another shot of the field looking pristine, and then we get a rush of over money. Everybody trying to guess what the weather's going to be in Kansas City on Sunday.
Exactly. Now, possible Super Bowl matchup odds are out. Westgate's got them, South Point, William Hill, and also some global numbers. Of the 4 possible matchups, John, which caused the most discussion over there at the Westgate?
I think it would probably be the Chiefs and the Rams just because there's so much discussion about what the total would be, Brent. Right now we have a hypothetical total on that game at 63. and we've seen some money on the under 63. But you know what? I actually think if that game came to fruition, that total would close even higher. You talk about those two offenses, the track meet that there'd be between those two teams, the public remembering their first matchup, and don't forget that this game would be indoors, whereas their first game was played in the Coliseum.
Completely agree with John. That would be the most challenging one, Brett, because you say to yourself, God, 63, we had 57, thought that was high. Now you're saying we're really going to hang a 63. So I totally agree with him in terms of the challenge. I mean, the teams are pretty paired. I mean, they're within a point and a half of each other power rating wise. And again, it's a neutral site on an indoor track. But the total is certainly the one that would present the most discussion internally for sure.
John, obviously you probably saw that Derek made that $100,000 wager on the prop that the South Point boys put out here. Here's a question, a hypothetical question for you. If you were booking this same bet and had to pick 4 teams, of course, obviously the South Point is Duke, Michigan, Gonzaga, and Kansas. Are those the same 4 you would put in that prop?
Well, I think Virginia right now looks like they're the best team in the country. I mean, this will be a little controversial, and I'm sure Mr. Stevens probably wouldn't agree, that he's from Michigan, but I don't really see Michigan as a legitimate threat to win the national championship. I know that they're off to an incredible start, but I just don't think that they have the horses as these other top teams. We're talking about Duke. Kansas certainly has more star power. I don't think I would have included Michigan in my 4, and I would have had Virginia in there for sure.
But they wouldn't have gotten Derek down here if they didn't include Michigan.
No, that's a different
There's a little
question.
marketing involved, John.
I understand that, and I certainly agree with what they were thinking there, and it looks like it worked to what they wanted there. But if you were asking me to name the top 4 teams, I wouldn't have Michigan in my top 4. I'd probably have certainly Duke, Virginia, and Gonzaga, and then maybe, I don't know, Michigan State, Kansas would be. I still think Kentucky is a team that has the horses to put it together and be a factor in March too.
Don't overlook Tennessee.
Yeah, that's Mike. You beat me to it.
Oh yeah, and Tennessee as well. Yeah, you guys are right. Tennessee's a very live team. They're a well-coached team. They certainly have a lot of star power. Nothing against Michigan. I just because I've said before, I think John Beilein's probably the best coach in all of college basketball. I just don't think that they have the star power to string together 6 wins in the tournament.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Duke and Virginia meet at Cameron on Saturday.
Saturday, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there an early number out on that game? Any place, Vinny or John, have we seen? Obviously, Duke's got an injury situation. The point guard will not be playing on Saturday. I'm pretty sure of that because Krzyzewski indicated he's going to miss several games. So it'll be a tight line. Virginia's undefeated after taking down Virginia Tech handily last night. You can't make Duke a dog at Cameron. That can't happen.
I don't know. Maybe you can.
You think so?
I told Mitch and Paul this morning I thought UVA may probably be a small favorite in that game with the way they're playing right now. Duke, a little out of sorts. That was a horrible loss on Monday night against Syracuse at Cameron Indoor. I just think Virginia right now is clearly the best team in the country. I'm not saying they'd be a big favorite, but I'd make them a small favorite here.
I think
interesting, Mike. I'm getting really interested in this game now.
I still think in Cameron, coming off the loss, you still have to favor, look at Duke there. But you have to see too. There's not only an injury, there was an illness the other night too. So in essence, Duke was without 2 of their starters.
That's right, Vinny. I forgot about the illness.
So what you want to do is make sure that they're going to be just minus the 1. But in Cameron, coming off the loss, it's going to be. Listen, it's going to be one of the best games of the day to watch for sure.
It's a major attraction. Without any NFL playoff games on Saturday, you're looking for a couple of big attractions. Guys, that's going to be right up there at the top of the list. Now, are the Penguins in town to play the Golden Knights, Mike? Is that
Saturday?
That's Saturday. We got a Saturday night game at T-Mobile here in Las Vegas. There'll be a lot of interest in. Did you get a chance, John, to watch the Golden Knights up in Winnipeg last night at all?
I did watch that game. What a dominant second period from VGK. They just couldn't seem to find the back of the net.
Yeah, exactly.
We were I was just in a meeting with Jay Kornegay and Jeff Sherman, and Jeff was saying that VGK had 25 shots in the second period.
They did.
That's unbelievable.
They were all over the net.
Certainly should have been a better result for them there. And I think the Penguins-Knights game will be big on Saturday. Don't forget about Manny Pacquiao against Adrian Broner. That fight's Saturday night at the MGM Grand. I think there's some events that we'll get some handle on Saturday, but it won't be as much as a Saturday where you have 2 NFL playoff games, certainly.
Yeah, exactly. Pacquiao still a pretty good favorite over at the Westgate, like he is here at South Point, John?
Yeah, yes, sir. We got Manny Pacquiao right now minus $3 against Adrian Bronner. I think this should be a pretty decent handle fight. Pacquiao, obviously a huge name in the sport of boxing still, and Adrian is a fighter that I think probably hasn't reached his full potential over the course of his career, but he's a dangerous opponent.
Up 290 here, yeah, so right there, Brent.
Right.
John, how's the Westgate been doing? You guys take action on the first periods in hockey, the totals?
Oh yeah, we do, and I've certainly I've heard all the people on VSiN talking about those first period overs, especially the Blackhawks, the Lightning, but I haven't really noticed a big spike in our handle here on those bets, to be honest with you guys. And I feel like too, I said this to Mitch and Paul, that at some point the value is going to be sucked out of that because everybody's talking about it, and you're starting to see these 1.5 over numbers really get juiced a lot. So I'm not sure how much value is left on that. I told Paul Howard, if you guys have something that's that great, don't go and tell everybody. Just bet it. Don't go and blab the whole
wait a minute,
world, Paul
John,
Howard.
That's not what VSiN's all about, okay?
That's exactly what
we
Mitch
shed
Moss
the
said,
light
Brett.
on everything,
That-
okay?
Mitch Moss said that exact thing, so you should give Mitch a kudos.
Mitch
and
is-
of course, I said touche. You guys were they were absolutely right about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to lead people in the right direction, okay? Before we let you go, Big John, we've got a graphic that Jorge put together here. The 4 quarterbacks, the prop this weekend, 9.5 is the total for Goff, Breeze, Brady, and Mahomes. We talked about that. We now have the combined for the entire season, every week, okay? Every week for these 4, just what these 4 did, okay? Week 1, 2, and 3 easily went over. Week 4 was a 9. Week 5, Breeze did not play. They had 7. Week 6, 5. 11, 8, 11, 7. Week 11, Brady did not play, and the other 3 dudes went off with 14 touchdown passes. Hard to believe. Wow. Goff and Mahomes did not play week 12, okay? And the other 2 put up 6. Then it goes down the stretch, 7, 6, 3, 6, 10. A week again when Breeze didn't play on week 17. And last week, tied for the lowest of the year, 3. So there's plenty of indicators in here that this could go over this weekend. That's interesting. Thanks, Jorge, for grabbing that on what these 4 guys did. I think it's a terrific prop because I think we're going to get, we got Derek and Mike like the over. We've got John likes the under. Both good handicappers of this. I like this 2-way you got going, Vinny.
Listen, anytime we get 2-way action, it makes me smile.
Yeah. Well, when you get 2-way, you haven't taken an under bet yet, have you, Vinny? On this,
we're gonna now.
Yeah, if you keep putting up all this info.
Murray just
Vinny, I don't know. I don't bet quite as much as Mr. Stevens does. He's got a slightly larger bankroll than I'm working with.
John, go back into Jay's office, pass the hat around.
I like the under, but hey, I won't be surprised if it goes either way,
That's
guys.
right.
4 very talented quarterbacks. You got a combined total in the 2 games of 113. They could get to 10 touchdown passes,
Sure.
but I'd lean to the under because of what I said about Breeze and Brady. I don't think those guys are 100% right now. And the defenses are tightening up here. We're getting deeper into the postseason.
The game that actually lost us the most money was the Kansas City Chiefs against the Cleveland Browns. That game was really interesting. The first half line on that one was 5.5. And with just a couple minutes to go in the first half, Cleveland brought it to 6. They were down 21-15, and they actually decided to go for 2 instead of kick the extra point. They would have kicked it, we actually would have covered, but they didn't, and that entire game was a disaster for the books.
As a gambler this year, I had a really rough Super Bowl. When you see a high-scoring game like that, bettors who like to play the unders probably not going to do that well. In terms of events I did pretty well on, the first NASCAR race in Las Vegas this year, the Pennzoil 400, I did pretty well. a bunch of places in town will put up different bets in terms of matchups and different kind of props, and it really gives you an opportunity to cash in if you have the right idea.
Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Wow, what a tussle that would be. We thought that it should be at least a 30-1 favorite with Mayweather because obviously one of the greater fighters that ever entered the ring. But with the up-and-comer and the way that this MMA stuff and UFC stuff has taken off in the last few years, it's about time that they got into the ring together. We opened the fight at 15-1. Got nothing but underdog money. That was Conor McGregor. Small bets, big bets, small bets, big bets. Went down to 10-1. Now to 10-1, quite a different story. We took 3 what you would consider obviously very big bets. 2 $1 million bets who laid to 10-1 and one $800,000 bet that laid 12-1. So as you can see, these 3 bets you would think, wow, you need Conor McGregor. Well, just the opposite. Because ticket count was at least 10-1 on Conor McGregor to upset Mayweather. Everybody, $5, $10, $100, $1,000. We wrote nothing but underdog money on that. So naturally, the outcome of the fight was good for us. With one single event, actually what you would consider, a throw-in match, won us $500,000. So go Mayweather.